Hey everyone, this is Rabbitearsblog, and welcome to another TV episode review series. So today's TV episode we'll be reviewing today is the Orville episode, Majority Rule. Now, before I get into my thoughts about this episode, I'd like to remind everyone that new videos will be posted up every Sunday. It could be Sunday morning, Sunday night, or Sunday evening, depending on when I can get the videos posted up. And also, if you happen to see any videos posted up during the week, that must mean there was a bit of TV show or movie news that was released during the week that I wanted to cover. So those would be considered special videos, but new videos will be posted up every Sunday. And every Monday, I would have the TV episode roundup videos, and those are the videos where I go over all the TV episodes I review for the week. It is from worst pick of the week to best pick of the week. So those will be posted every Monday. So now let's get into this TV episode review of the Orville Majority Rule. So what happens in this episode is that the Orville crew ends up going on this planet that's like 21st century Earth. And it turns out that everybody on Earth determines, on the 21st century Earth determines who's good and who's bad based on this voting system they have. Like the green buttons would be like voting up, would be like you're approving of what that person's doing. And if you vote, you press the red buttons on the person's badges, that means that the person's doing something negative, so you will have to vote them down. And if it turns out that you get about 10 million down votes or red votes, then then what they're gonna do is they're gonna put you in a jail cell and rewrite your memory or something, so you could be a model citizen of that planet. And what happens in this episode is that John, one of the members of the Orville, end up like humping in front of a statue, and it turns out that this had a negative impact on him, as everybody on the planet started downvoting on what he did or his actions with the statue. And then crew's trying to figure out a way to rescue John from getting his memory wiped away by trying to figure out a way to get the people on Earth to vote, to give enough green votes to make sure that John doesn't get his memory rewrite. And that's pretty much the gist of this episode. So what are my thoughts about this episode? I thought this was actually one of the most intriguing episodes I've ever seen from this series, because I think out of all the Orville episodes I've seen, this is like the Orville episode that really hit closer to home to what's going on in the current society. And what I meant by that is that it kind of shows the audience about how social media is like being used in our society. Like, you know, when you go on Facebook, you like or you dislike a comment or something that a person made, and then you go on Twitter and people can decide if the person tweeting is good or bad based on what the person said on Twitter. And there's been a lot of that going around lately. And even on online video streaming services, you know, if you vote a video up, that means you give the video thumbs up, that means you like the video. And if you give the video thumbs down, you hated the video. So I like how in this episode it was like saying, okay, if the people voted up or they voted for the green button on the person's badge, that means the person did good and they're spared from getting the memories wiped away. But if the person ends up getting like 10 million down votes, or have the person press the red button on the person's badge, then they end up getting their memories rewritten so they could become a model citizen. And I thought that was a really intense part of this episode, is that it kind of explores what would happen if social media like took over society in that kind of way, and they use it as a way to determine the how society should be run, or determine who should be the good guy, who's the bad guy. And I was really interested to see how dark this episode went with the whole idea about how social media can be used to turn against people. Like, as I stated, you know, how if you vote up, it would determine if the person's good, and if you vote down, it would determine if the person's bad, and that would determine the person's punishment. So I found that to be really interesting and so close to home. It hits close to home to what's really going on with social media in today's society. And that's pretty much the gist of this episode. It's just basically showing about like what's going on with social media and society today, and how in this episode it was used as a way to determine a person's punishment, and or determine if the person is good or not. So overall, I gave this episode 4.75 stars, and even though there were some pacing issues, like some slow moments that happened in this episode, I really like the fact that this episode actually tackled the issue about how social media is being used in society, and how in this case it can be used to determine the punishment of the person depending on whether or not the public actually likes that person or not. So I found that idea to be really interesting for this episode. So that's my thoughts on the current episode, The Orville Majority Rule. And have you seen this episode? And did you like this episode? Did you hate this episode? What are your thoughts about this episode? Please feel free to comment below, and don't forget to follow me on Twitter so I can keep you updated on any new videos I post up. And also, like my Facebook page, Rabbitearsblog's Best Comments. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. This is Rabbitearsblog, and I'll see you later.